Hey, do you know where you are? Tell me you do. You at the Madjef Music Show, in case you didn't know. I'm here to remind you, you at the show. And it's going down, baby. It's going down. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Well, first of all, and this ain't no big news, baby, but I'm your host. That's me, Madjef. You can clap for me or applaud. I like that. It's sexy. Sophisticated crowd applause. What's good, people? Look, I'm Jeff Taylor. They call me Madjef, and they made me mad, so don't trip. No, actually, I'm mad about the music and the technology and all those things that allows us to do this, which is reach out to people all over the world and bring them into my studio, which is right outside here, it doesn't matter. Anyway, welcome to the show. Guess what today? Guess what today is? Today is Tuesday, and guess who my guest is today? I usually start the show with a little news bit, but I'm gonna skip that because I want to get right to this. Because this is my guest, and she's calling in right now. You hear that ding in the background? This is Karyn White. Oh my God. She's in my green room right now. I see you, Princess. I don't even know if that's Queen. I'm sorry. I see you in the green room, Queen. All right, stand by for just a second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me, I got an intro story before I bring Karyn in here. And I want to jump to that right now. Here's my story. This is how I met Karyn White. And I've been dying to tell people this. The year was 1989. That was a long time ago, right? Dig it. I was living in New York City, starving musician. I was living on 2 egg rolls a day. I was playing in a band. We were signed on Warner Brothers. We got dropped. We were starving. We was hungry, but and it was a garbage strike era, and I was ready to move out of New York City. I had it. I was done. I sold my stuff. I bought a little Honda Civic, and I was going to drive to Minnesota where my sister lived. And this friend of mine called me up and said, I got 2 tickets to the Palladium before you go. Karyn White is the act at the Palladium, 14th Street, New York City. I said, well, why not? I ain't got nothing else to lose. I'm hungry. There might be some food on the floor or something up in that joint, right? No. But seriously, I go to this show, and the band hits the stage. And now what's cool about this band is they're dope musicians. They're like a combination of the time, L.A. Reid and a Babyface band with Prince elements. It was crazy. So I was mesmerized by this band, right? But then Karyn hit the stage. And when Karyn hit the stage, let me just tell you. I was mesmerized, and I still am to this day. I've been so nervous for this interview because Karyn White, I met Karyn White. I didn't meet her that night, but this is when the universe kicked in. Check this out. So within a few months, I packed up all my stuff, and I bought a little Honda Civic, didn't have any floorboards, and dead of winter, I drove to Minnesota. Guess what? I got to Minnesota. I figured I'm going to work with Jamma Lewis or I'm going to work with Prince. Once they discover my talent, one of these guys are going to want me. All right, so anyway, 6 months later, nobody wants me, but I decided to go to the Southdale Mall, and I'm walking through the mall, or Ridgedale or Southdale, one of those 2 malls, and I'm walking through the mall, and this incredibly beautiful black woman walks by me. Now, you don't miss a beautiful black woman in Minnesota when she walks by you in 1989, 90, because it's 90% white in Minnesota. You don't miss her, okay? So a woman walks by, I see her go by, and I have a flashback to when I was standing on the street in front of the Palladium, not long ago. And it dawned on me, this was Karyn White that just walked by me, and I'm thinking this can't be possible. But anyway, I did what anybody who would have been at her show in 1989, who saw that show, who bumped into her in the mall, I did what anybody would have done, man. I stalked her, bro. I stalked her. Through clothes racks. You know how you can get that mirror reflection? You see somebody on the other side of the room, you can see them through that mirror. Bruh, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, she just is shopping. And what I learned after I met her is that Karyn's quite streetwise, so she probably knew I was there all the time. But dig this. After I'm standing there talking to Karyn, I say to her, look, first of all, I said, look, I'm not a stalker, first of all, please. You have to understand something. I was at your show at the Palladium. And she says, what? No way. And we started talking about it. She says, well, what do you do? I said, I'm a musician, I'm a producer, I write. I'm nobody, but I do all of these things. And so, all of a sudden, I'm standing there talking to her, and I feel like her bodyguard or somebody is walking up on the side of us, and I feel like the presence of a man walking, and he stands about 15 feet in the back, and I turn sideways, and I can see he's kind of motioning her to come. And Karyn wasn't having that. Karyn says to this man, Terry, come over here and meet Jeff. And I turn around, There's this sharp-dressed man in a long wool coat with a black suit and a turtleneck and a fedora. He fly, because he was always fly. He's a fly dude. So there he is, and now I'm in the middle of Karyn White and Terry Lewis. And Karyn says, this is Jeff. Jeff, this is Terry. Terry said, all right. And then he said, well, all right, let's go. And Karyn said, well, you know, Jeff is in the music business. Jeff is a producer. And Terry goes, all right, well, cool. Let's go. And Karyn says, well, Jeff, you know, Karyn says to Terry, and I swear to God, she's in my green room. I can't make this up. She said, Terry, we do have that Walking the Dog remix, you know. And Terry goes, all right, come down to the studio. I'm having my boy hook you up in the studio, blah, 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 so-and-so. Be there at so-and-so time. I show up at the studio, of course. They put me in the studio. They come out. They're real nice to me. And they tell me, we're going to come back and check on you in a few hours. They came back the next day. And that was good they did, because I needed that time. But in that time, I worked on that remix. And at that time, I developed their trust and Karyn's trust. And I became her favorite engineer at flight time. She wouldn't want anybody else working on her records. We light them candles. And she would say, go, boy. Now, why do you know Karyn? Because if you were born in the 80s and the 90s, you know, you aspired to be a superwoman when you heard this joint on the radio. LA and Babyface was making their mark. This incredible lady was one of those first people. Now, she worked with Jeff Lorber, you know, LA and Face, Jimmy and Terry, lots of people. But man, what can prepare you for her in the studio or live, her level of perfection, et cetera, et cetera. She's an artist, she's a singer, she's a songwriter, and I've told my story, and it's true. And now, I'm gonna bring her out of the green room, but first I'm gonna turn this music off before I get sued. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce y'all. Oh my God. I can't even breathe.
Trying to get my hair right.
I can't even breathe. Ladies and gentlemen, Karyn White is in the house, and y'all better clap and applaud.
Woo!
Karyn, you look amazing.
Thank you, Jeff. That was so, man, you took me back. And it's so terrible because I try to remember a lot of memories, and for some reason I don't. But that's so beautiful, that story. You know what I'm saying? It's just so me, because I'm always, and I'm not trying to brag or anything. I love that I love the underdog. That's just who I am. And people tell me that all the time. You did this for me. I'm like, and I don't even remember. So I'm like, I did? So it's so beautiful to hear that that's how you started working.
Sis.
At the right time. Oh my God.
Listen, I'm out there trying to get people to notice me. I tried everything. I had a studio in my crib. I was doing demos with anybody that wanted a demo. They said if they said the demo was going to flight time, I said, I'll do it for free. I was just trying to get the attention.
Of course. Of course.
And then you show up at the Southdale Mall. You jump from this is how the universe works though. Because you was on that stage at the Palladium, Karyn. And I was and the girl I was with stopped speaking to me that night because she was like, so what's going on with you and her? You know her? Well, it was one of those nights. So
oh man. And then you just talked about so many beautiful things, talking about the band, right? The combination of Prince and the time and jamming, and LA and Face. It really was all that.
Yeah.
Because I had Levi Caesar, from Prince's guitar player, Bobby G, Derek DOA Allen, Eddie M on sax from Prince and Sheila, John Paris, the drummer from Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh man.
Boy.
Listen.
And my background singer, Valerie Bailey, I don't know if she's listening tonight, but yeah, she's married to Philip Bailey now. My background singer. Look at that.
Wow.
Look, you know what I mean? Hey, Michelle.
Hey, but for real though, listen, as a musician, seeing that band hit the stage before you came out there, they lit like kerosene on the stage and lit it up. And if you were a musician, you cared about that back then,
Oh, that's why it's so beautiful that you could really point that out, because, most people are thinking about the artist. But I was like, no, I was blessed to be around this amazing band. And we were such a family. We argued, we
Right.
fought, but and I would do things like this, Jeff, like because my stage was being on the road, like, opening up for Bobby Brown for 2 years. So
Right.
I would go in at a sound check and say, okay, I want to go from oh, 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 to oh. They were like, oh my God, just trying. And they were like, okay.
You
I'm like,
were
no,
wicked.
really. And see, but that was a horrible mistake to do that. But
Right.
I had to try it,
You were
So,
wicked. You were so wicked. That's one of the things about you I remember about being in the studio with you is your level of execution and perfection. You didn't take no, girlfriend. Like you had to be sharp, you know?
yeah, I mean, of course. And like you said, having those, I'm just grateful that, I just grew up in that era. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like really, we grew up in the Michael and Prince, and
Right, right.
that was really a big, huge influence on me.
Yeah.
So, between Jam and Lewis having, Michael and Janet and Prince. So that work ethic,
Right.
all of us,
Yeah.
we all learned. That
We
was
did.
that was our training, right?
Yeah.
That's what we knew. Prince rehearsed,
Yeah.
12 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I picked up that same, because the band, and I would go to Sheila E.'s rehearsal before I became Karyn White, and she was just one of my favorites. So I really learned a lot from her on
Listen,
how to direct the band,
dropping nuggets on
and
the show.
and how to be in control of the band. So shout
Mm.
out to Sheila
You just dropped the
E.
nugget. I didn't even know. I didn't even know that you was chilling with
Oh
Sheila E. back in the
yeah.
day. You like hitting some skins. You was like, I learned some things.
Oh yeah. Look,
Did it?
I mean, the beautiful part about being a performer, for me, is just on stage. It's fun to be in the studio, of course.
Yeah.
We love to, set the mood, but it's nothing like that live audience, and where you just, for me, it's just like, I don't know, I transform. And I love what I transform into, because I hate to do the same show, Jeff, over. You know how people do the same show every night?
Right.
I don't like that. So as an artist, I'm always trying to challenge myself. I'm going to do something different tonight. I'm not going to do the same show. So that was me, because it had to be fun. Who wants to sit up and do the same old show?
Right.
Of course you have your transitions and your accents, but as far as like, just the energy, I love to just push myself.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
man, there's so much to talk about here. You man, you American Music Awards, Soul Train Music Awards, Billboard Music Awards, you nominated for many Grammy Awards and stuff like that. I mean, but at the same time, you were kind of not really playing the industry game, in my opinion. From just kind of watching from the peripheral, there were certain things you just didn't gel the way you wanted them to, and you didn't like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, remember I talked about that rebel. I've always been Karyn White in elementary. So I've always been destined for greatness, and people knew that. And I always, like I said, I'm kind of a rebel at just the game that's out here. I like to set my own standard. I'm not afraid of my own path and being unique and being different and being a leader. So, but it cost me a lot. I had to learn a lot of lessons, having this type of personality. But
Right.
I've really, it really helped me to just, be an individual, and have work with some of the greatest by being this way. Being with a Don Cornelius, who started my career right with O'Brien and Switch. I don't know if you knew that. When I was 16, the drummer.
Wow.
Jody Sims. So we would be in the studio with Switch and just learning, and actually I was a student. I knew how to be a leader and a student. And that's the beautiful part about when you can just be humble and just learn and grow.
Yeah.
So I can be around the greats and just observe, or I could be the star. You know what I mean?
Right,
It doesn't
right.
have to. So I love that part about me. Shout out to Audrey Egypt Young, who's
What's
on the
up,
line,
Audrey?
who's
What's
working
up,
with
Audrey?
my label, Supernova. So shout out
Thank
to
you.
Audrey.
Let's talk about that too. But you are from LA, so you're a LA lady.
Oh,
LA
yeah.
lady. Don't make me sing, because
Yeah. LA lady.
There she
Yeah,
goes.
this LA lady. This LA lady had so much opportunity, and started out in pageants, winning the Miss Talented Teen pageant, and the oh God, all kind of pageants. Some of them I didn't win, but the great part is that I always push myself to say, well, next year I'm going to win, and I did. Very driven. That's if I could say anything about Karyn White. Just just a hard worker. I worked for my talent. I went to a school, right? Like Fame. In the summer, it was a CETA program for underprivileged kids. And so they don't have these programs anymore. And it's so sad. I wish they did. But we learned, acting, singing, dance, tap, writing, this whole thing. And then every summer we would put on events. And so I had to really work hard at everything that I did, like the dance, because I wasn't normally flexible. But, just enough to like be able to, you guys know I love to dance, but I wasn't really flexible enough to be a ballet dancer and stuff like that. So my sister was, so I just was a very hard worker.
Gotcha. Listen, I'm about to take you way back for a second. Look at this. Look at this. So that is my little one on the left, and that's your little one on the right with my ex and so forth. And now, let me tell you, now, here's the thing about that. Here's the story on this. Okay, so you guys in November, you and Terry did this miraculous thing. You had this beautiful daughter, Ashley, I believe in November, and she was born on Terry's birthday.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then something, because the universe was still working with me and you and Terry somehow. In January, we gave birth to my daughter on my birthday.
Yes.
And one of the proudest moments was there was a press release that said Terry Lewis gave birth on his birthday, and this unknown janitor, or whoever this guy is in the basement down there, he gave birth. So, but that's something that I've never forgotten, and that kind of brought us together. And we did lots of family gatherings at your house, lots of parties, and lots of fun stuff, man.
Yeah, I loved the family. And give me your daughter's name again.
Bijou.
Oh, Bijou.
Bijou, yes, Bijou.
Bijou and Ashley.
Bijou and Ashley. They are grown up now, so that makes me feel. You look the same way you looked in 1989, which I don't understand, but I know I'm old because my back hurt like.
Oh no! Look! Don't. Nobody said we didn't have plantar fasciitis.
Well, that was a long time ago.
We gonna always. I tell people I'm a rock star too.
I know.
Like Tina, I'm going out, a rock star.
Well, there's no question. There's no question that you are a rock star. I don't know about the going out part anytime soon, but you definitely are a rock star. So LA, we got lots of people wanting to talk to us. Never age. They said they agree with me that black don't crack. In the case of Karyn White,
it doesn't. Look, except for my hands, I won't show those.
No, don't do anything to alter my impression and my memory of who Karyn White is. And this is forever Karyn White to me right here. So I mean, see that hair is working for you.
Yeah,
your hair is doing what you want it to do right now. I know enough about hair. I don't have none, but I know enough about hair to know that your hair was doing exactly what you told it to do right then and there.
Oh yeah, it was doing exactly. That was a couple of years ago, and I've always had the big hair. Look, I'm not letting that go. And this is a funny story. Because a lot of people don't know this. So Janet Jackson, Janet, my girl who did my braids, because I had individuals back in the day, and then the curly. So I went to Janet's house before I was Karyn White, and she actually saw my hair because my hairstylist had to show somebody's hair, and I was the model. So isn't this funny that I went to Janet's house before and how all this came full circle, and I never told her that. Isn't that funny?
That's amazing. But what's more amazing about what you just told me is that your influences like Sheila E., Janet Jackson. So right when you were breaking, they were already kind of getting there, and you kind of had a roadmap to what to do and where to go, huh?
Oh yeah. They were, and just the whole performance side, like I said, and being funky, I call myself a band chick. And of course, Jimmy and Terry kind of, they gave Janet that whole thing, especially remember when they did the control thing over the line, Jimmy Jam, but that was really me. Like that, I really did. Look, that wasn't made up. That was really Eddie M. Let's go, Bobby G.
Right.
But yeah, that band chick, and I was so blessed that Warner Brothers, allowed me to have a band because
Mm-hmm.
it could have been like do some track shows and you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And
Right.
that would have been whack. But I
Right.
was really really blessed to have such an amazing band, and they're still my friend. And DOA, my bass player, who I don't know if you know DOA. Do
Mm-mm, I
you?
don't
I
think I
don't.
do.
He wouldn't play with the time. He played with the time too. Like when we
Okay.
were
Okay. Okay.
when Jesse wasn't doing it. Him and
Okay.
Bobby, they
Okay.
came to Minnesota and they went to Japan with Morris and
Nice.
Jimmy and not Jimmy, but Morris and Jelly Bean and all that.
Okay.
And so yeah, he had the #1 record. And I want to shout out so he did my last 2 albums, Derek
Nice.
Allen with Kim.
Nice.
He has the #1 album, and this is the only. I don't know if this is. I think this is Kim's first #1 album,
Oh,
which
very
Derek,
nice.
yeah, DOA produced. So shout out to DOA.
DOA. What's good,
Yeah.
DOA? Man, I'm excited to
Mhm.
hear some of that music. So where can we hear that? Where can we find this
Oh
music at?
yeah, you're gonna love it. It's really great music. It's you can go to it's on Spotify, Karyn White, or you can go to my website, KarynWhite.me. We also did a film. I don't know if you knew I did a feature
I
film.
wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah, let's get into that film, girl. You
Let's
acting.
get it done. I
acting.
eat fire.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't sing at me, but like to see. Karen. I used to enjoy our studio sessions so much because of that energy right there.
Wow.
People would be like, "You got Karen in there tonight." They'd be like terrified. The other engineers would be like, "Oh, you got Karen tonight." I'd be like, "Yeah, I know, right?" And I go in there,
Oh
and it would
Lord,
just be
that's
all
scary.
this kind of energy. You scared? Yeah, you scared them boys. You know, them boys were scared of you.
I did. Why? I was nice.
I know, but you know what you wanted, and you were like, "Look, that ain't
Oh.
it." I remember you specifically saying to somebody, "I know what I want, and that ain't it." So
Yeah,
get
and
Jeff in
especially
here.
when and the
Promotion.
great thing, right? And the thing too is like after working with Terry and seeing how they do everything themselves and
Right.
all the engineering
They can
sessions
get it all.
and
Yeah.
muting and comping and so
Oh
I
my
knew
God.
all of that. So it was
Oh.
just me watching him. I'm like, no, okay, Jeff, swoop it, boom, okay.
Right.
I'm thinking my love. I think did you do that
Oh
one too?
yes, ma'am.
Oh, we were like,
Oh, we
yeah,
did a lot. We did a
together.
lot of work, a lot of overdubs, a lot of trying to make everything just right. That record had big expectations, and we worked a lot on it.
Mm-hmm.
But everything I learned about chopping a record, cutting into an analog tape, what these kids know nothing about right now. They know nothing about how to chop into the actual tape and right in front of the artist with her whole life flashing before her eyes, and just to get one word out of there and put another word. I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, Karen, I got this." Oh, they don't even know. They don't even know. The man stay up at night thinking about that.
Right, and it's so funny because I'll go into the studio right now with my hip hop artists and these engineers, and it's so funny because I'll be like, mm-mm. And I still have, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, you're a veteran.
that's not. All and I know I'm like, no, all you got to do is just bring that up and then
Right.
hit it on. They're like, they don't really want to. I'm like, that ain't old school. That's true school.
That's true school. That's what it is. That's on the one. You have so much experience, studio, stage. I mean, you so much to bring to this new generation. So you're writing songs for movies. You're starring in movies. You're really reemerging with a label and all this other stuff. What's going on? What happened? What happened to light this fire up under you?
Well, after having my divorce and leaving Minnesota and going to Sacramento and reinventing myself, really, I became an entrepreneur. I didn't want to sing anymore, and that was horrible. My mom was passing, and so I started to I realized, Jeff, that it's not just music. Like kind of anything that I really want to do, I realized like this chick is got to focus. Like that's why she made it. It wasn't just music because I took that same spirit towards flipping houses and being a real estate investor, and I was very successful. So I realized I was like, okay, I think my strength is my drive.
Yeah.
So I understood that, and then Ashley, of course, was getting older, and I kept making excuses for not wanting to be in the entertainment industry because of her. And then once she graduated high school, I'm like, okay, look, now people would see me. What are you doing? Oh, my daughter, I'm being a mother. I have to have her go to she's in elementary, she's in junior high school. So I had no more excuses. I ran out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Jay King on a Blog Talk radio show. So shout out to the amazing Jay King who changed my life.
Club
from Club
Nouveau.
Nouveau. The first person, indie person, to sell 3 million records out of the trunk of his car.
You
And
know.
independently, and he was the prince of Warner Brothers when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we reconnected. I heard his show. He had a music show, Jeff. And it just goes to show you, like, even though, you don't know who's listening to you too, Jeff, he didn't know I was listening. And he just inspired me to go after it and life and reinventing and persevering. And I realized, I was like, ooh, Karyn, you think you're so cool. You think you're so tough. You're the superwoman, but you're really scared. You're putting all that under it's fear. It's called resistance. And I realized that. I was like, ooh, this is resistance. You know what I mean? The reason why I'm making excuses. But to me, I was like, oh, I've done it.
Right.
I don't need to come back. They don't need me. But it wasn't until I got on stage and started rehearsing and it came back as a grown woman, Jeff, it was incredible. Yeah. Because I didn't care, first of all. I could give a damn what anybody thought. And I really was doing it for the right reason. I wanted to, my fan base, I missed them. I understood who I was, the superwoman, and how women have, left their husbands and have changed their lives, stayed together, just had such a strength. And I felt like I kind of let them down. You know what I mean? Just like, wait a minute, you were supposed to be the superwoman,
Right.
So I, coming back, man, I just felt so empowered and just really knowledge of self, understanding who I was and
your power. You figured out you
my power. Being around amazing people that poured into me. And not Jeff, but Jay King really poured into me. And so we were, so that's why I felt like I could do anything. So coming back, it was fun. It wasn't this pressure. Jeff, I had such a pressure that I put on myself. Yeah. And I guess it was easy when you have so much, like being at Flight Time, I kind of felt like a little off kilter because it was the house that Janet built, right? I'm coming into this big shoes of not me being, not that I was competing with her because I was in awe of her, but I felt like if I would have just kept to my pace, you understand? It's like, I don't have to sell 20 million records like her. You know what I mean? I can just keep, doing platinum, keep doing. So you can get kind of off centered with all this giant stuff around.
It was big.
And so, I kind of lost and it stopped being fun.
Yeah.
Because then it became about, I got a beat, I got a top. And that was never why I was into music.
I got
you can't tell music what to do.
No.
How you going to tell music we're going to top this?
I know, right? You just better be a nice melody. You better be a pretty melody.
You better just, so, and they're just trying to get it too fast. I love my little stories because I'm hoping that somebody listening out there can learn from it. So I had the most amazing team. My manager was Larkin Arnold, who was the president of CBS. He negotiated Sade's contract, Marvin Gaye, Luther, Michael Jackson. Wow. This is who my manager was. And so I wind up firing him, getting a pop manager who managed George Michael's manager, right? Because I wanted to be pop. You remember how that was the time? Yeah. Everybody was, trying to be pop.
MTV.
Yeah, we can get you a #1 record. And we did. Mm-hmm. But I wish I would have, I'm talking about my Ritual of Love album, like that Romance Me. It had a Dance Me and a Romance Me side. And songs like Tears of Joy and One Heart and How I Want You and Walking. I mean, it was just those songs where I just wish I would have released the more soulful ones instead of trying to go after this big pop record. Right. So that was kind of a mistake. So that's why, now that I have, we're talking about current, I have this label and I love my artist Akbar and I love that I get to reinvent myself through him. And I get to tell him, I said, man, you know what? You are so blessed because you are learning from my mistakes. I've been on a high level and I've been on a low, and you're learning from the greatest to the least. So I'm really making sure that he, that he gets it and that we pulled him all the way through with God. You know what I mean? Yeah. All the way through,
God is important.
And so I'm excited about that.
Well, you mentioned earlier, and we did allude to this, but you were for a while married to this here sharp dressed man right here.
Oh yeah,
You was
oh
married to this
yeah.
brother. I
You
know
could
that.
have got a cute little picture of us. Look,
I, yeah, you know what?
Jeff,
I
Jeff,
was scrambling
look,
today. I said, you know what? I don't have a picture of Terry and Karen,
look.
and
You
I
should
just
have
grabbed this. So let
asked
me
me.
let
I
me
would
get
have
out of that
gave you a
shot. I'm gonna
picture
get
of
out of that
us when
shot.
we was
See,
young. Let me tell you,
man,
when
I
I
almost
look
hit a
back.
home run with you today, Karen. Damn it!
Oh no, you're
Should have
fine.
checked that
But let
picture.
me tell you about how young I looked. Like I really like when I was with Terry. I looked like I was like
Oh,
14.
oh yes, very
Like
young.
I was like, that's kind of scary, Karen. I didn't realize that I looked that young.
Yeah, you
I
looked very young.
have to show you this picture. You're gonna get a kick.
You
But
but you guys
yeah,
are.
I mean, and
And your
Jeff, you
daughter looks a
know,
lot like you now. So ironically, and I got a picture of her. This is Ashley.
ah,
And when I saw Ashley, I thought it was you. I said, is that Karen?" Then I could see a little Terry in there and Mom B.
oh, you
And I
can see
said,
a lot
"Okay."
of Terry. You can see a lot of Terry. She looks just like him.
Woo.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, born on the same day. Ashley is a beast. Let me tell you
Yeah.
about Miss Ashley.
Oh my
She's
God.
forever, you know, my artist pitch, you know, he posted a picture and she types under his thing, it's blurry. I'm like, oh my God. I said, and I'm texting, I'm like, Ashley, do you have to let the whole world know? Can
That's
you
funny.
just DM me or call me, mom, tell Akbar to take the picture down?
You're right.
So, but she's this combination of both of us. And I'm
She's a
like,
producer.
she's bossy,
She,
hella bossy.
well, you know what I learned about I love producing because I realized that's all producing is being bossy. You get to be bossy and be the guy who says, "No, we don't like that. Let's try that."
Exactly. Oh, and
Okay.
she loves it. You know, she's doing right now, she's doing reality TV. So she went from the news to reality TV and she's producing a show and
Mm-hmm.
producing a lot of content. Yeah, so she loves to boss me around. She
And I see sometimes she's putting on IG that they're actually taking auditions and stuff like that. So you might want to, if you saw her IG, tune into her IG because they're holding like real auditions out in LA, man, for people
yeah,
that want to
look,
be on game
actually, look,
shows.
she's really doing it out here.
Yeah, that's
I
all
keep
right.
telling her, you got to cast me and you got to get me in something, you know, for reality. But you know,
What?
reality TV could mess you up. It's got
Oh
to be the
man.
right thing.
That's worse. That's worse than anything. So I'm seeing you as a movie star anyway. So let's talk about Gail and Storm because I see some more movies happening. Right? Talk to me. What's good?
Oh yeah. So let me tell you about that. So my partner Derek Muhammad, who co-wrote that with me, and Jay King, great guy. You know, we're working. His son is who I'm signed to my label,
Hmm.
Supernova. His name is Akbar, and so we got some projects because Akbar is a screenwriter. I
Okay.
call him my secret weapon. He's
Ooh.
he's a combination of Childish Gambino, Donald Glover,
Oh
right,
yes, yes,
and Issa
of
Rae.
course.
So
Ooh.
he can write. He writes. We're working on a feature film right now, as well as a animation. Black. What is it called? Black. No. What do they call that? Exploitation. Kind of a
Ah,
black exploitation type of
nice, nice.
comedy. Yeah, called Miss Ebony Brown. So we're working on that, and I'm producing that, and we'll see. Cause Jeff, I
Nice.
don't have to be the leader.
All right.
Yeah. I don't have to be the leader. So Gale in the Storm is about. Let me tell you what that was about. It's about
Yes.
it's based loosely written about my life, and so it's a funk singer, like a Shaka Khan type of chick,
Uh
and
huh.
she steps away from the music business at the height of her career. So she hooks up with a revolutionary music producer who was Jay King. That was his
Hmm.
life, and he tries to talk her back into singing.
Ah,
And so that's what Gale in the Storm is about.
got you,
And
got you.
I loved it because when I got back in the business in 2009, I was in a TV show too on Centric called Beauty and the Baller. So I had a small part in that, and then I started acting and taking lessons and stuff like that in LA, and from Halle Berry's coach and Brad Pitt. So, and you know, I was really it acting. I love acting because you learn so much about life, and it really makes you a better performer.
Right.
So I realized once I started acting like on stage, my stage game is like I'm so fearless now. So
Hmm.
like I mean I love the just man, I love performing because
Right.
it is just so fun, and I'm not, I can just have a band, Jeff. Like I would go to London and I would have a band and we rehearsed for that night, And I never would do nothing like this
Mm-hmm.
because, remember, I'm from the Prince school. We got to
Right.
rehearse 30 days
It's
and
gotta be
spend all this
it's gotta be
money.
perfect, right?
Yeah. So now I'm like, no, I know who I am. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can turn a band like nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can do a sound check and be like,
Oh
okay.
no.
And you would think this
Oh
band
yeah.
is my band.
Oh, you a
So I'm
boss.
like, what happened?
You
No,
a
it's
boss.
that I don't know what it is. It's just, but that I don't know. I love that. I just believe in myself, and
You know,
I know my gift, and I really just accept it. I was like, no, you kind of don't want to. I'm gonna tell the singers out here, you don't
yeah.
want to go behind Karyn White
Mm-mm. No,
because I'm gonna
no.
give it everything. Like
You
you
know what?
can't.
That's the thing with you, Karen, is you're a singer, right? A
Mm-hmm,
singer. And then
mm-hmm.
you're a very beautiful woman on top of that. So the musicians they already messed up. They don't know what to think about what, right? And then on top of that, you actually are a musician who knows what has to happen here in order for this to be effective. And then you're a boss who knows enough about this to know that it's got to be consistently like this in order for me to be happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Exactly.
amazing. And that takes a lot of fortitude.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember when Terry first came, and this is so great because this is so fun because we have this is our history. I remember when I first flew him over to Japan, and I was bossy. He was like, oh my God, I'm flying first class to Japan, and he saw me perform, and he was like, wow, like he really was like, that's your gift.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it really he was really right about that
Yeah.
because that's where I'm the freest. And it's so funny because when people come see me, like they don't know because it's been a long time. You know what I mean? If you don't remember from
Right.
like, back in the day from the Bobby Brown tour, it's been a long time since I've been out.
Yeah.
So when they see me and then they see me just break it down and go into James Brown, then go into the time. And I just do whatever,
and not to mention the ballads, the ballads.
Oh yeah. And then do the ballads. Break, hit the Superwoman, da da 20 times. The band follow me, and then dramatically bring it down. Wait. Bam! It's and I'm like, man, that's the best part because we ain't doing this for the money right now. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
That's
it's
right.
like music is music is like Terry said, it sells everything except for itself. So
that's crazy.
When I can get to perform, that's my currency.
Yeah. And you know what? And honestly, I hope that you get to do a lot more performing because that people really need to see what I saw and what you just said. Terry just saw when he saw you.
Oh, yeah.
You blew me away, and I was just like, wow, that is what it should be like. You know what I mean? And when I moved to Minnesota, my goal was to go out there and to get in a band like that, to work with guys like that, because I don't know where y'all came from, but on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, where I was living on 14th Street and Broadway, around that area, there wasn't no really cool bands or dudes dressed like The Time and pimped out and could really, really play like nuts. That wasn't around, So.
And Jeff, you know how Minnesota was. So, we'd go in the studio, right? And how everybody would be like, okay, we're coming in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like Flight Time was beautiful and all these different rooms and Mint Condition in one room and then New Edition in one room and Johnny and Janet and Prince coming through. Ooh. I mean, crazy. Wasn't that just an amazing time?
Exactly. And that's why I'm doing this show because I know so much. I have so many memories that I didn't even share with people in my short time there. And I just want to be able to connect with you today and to talk to people and just tell them about some of this stuff. I mean, goodness, there's so much stuff happened that we could fill 2 books with this stuff. We better be able to get some of it out. And I want to be able to celebrate artists like you because, Chick Corea just passed away. People are dying.
Yes.
Let's celebrate some of these great artists like right now. Let's talk about the history that we have.
Yes. And speaking of great artists, my boy, the one who started my career, the singer of all singers, O'Brien is in the building.
O'Brien is in the building? What? Are you serious right now?
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
How to be funky,
wow.
Right?
He's a funky dude.
Soul trains are coming. And then go into Lady, I Love You. I mean, I learned something. We opened up for Cameo and O'Brien had the most incredible band who I wound up saying, can I borrow some of your band? So this was, speaking about great artists, I want to give him his flowers. He taught me so much. him and Don Cornelius about being an artist. I remember, going to his rehearsals and how, O'Brien would carry himself with the band and come in, and his wardrobe people and his, being on Soul Train, because he wrote the theme, him and Don
Right,
Cornelius.
right. I mean,
So, I mean, I would just sit back, and just really, I was so blessed to be 17 years old, soaking up all of that greatness,
I just want to say that the Soul Train is still the funkiest tune ever on television, and
That's right.
on
That's right.
on a show ever on a show. We grew up
It
to that, so
is.
we that little
O'Brien, I
train
mean,
get
he put
that
his,
little train get the huffing down the track like this a little bit. It was like,
oh, yeah. Oh, man. And
boom.
so, Jeff, let me tell you, 2 years ago, we had an amazing time. O'Brien, I got him to come with me to the Soul Train cruise. And it was so beautiful. Tony Cornelius, Don Cornelius' son put it on. And O'Brien, he came out and everybody went crazy. And talking about that, that spontaneity thing, then, I had him do the Babyface duet with me. So they went crazy even more. And then we went to the Soul Train groove. We went in the audience. It was so fun. We turned that cruise out.
I'm about to seriously, when I get done with this, I'm about to jump on Google and hit up or see what O'Brien's been doing, because I remember that first one or two records was so funky, it was so futuristic and so freaky and funky and futuristic, bro.
And he was
man,
ding, ding, ding,
bad keyboard player, like killing me.
I mean, O'Brien was the man.
And wasn't he doing everything himself, kind of around the same time Prince was doing everything himself? Yeah, so that was kind of one of those things that people don't know. That man is a bad man. So these are your influences. He was like
Prince. After Prince.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm like, O'Brien, I don't know if I want to sing Gigolo. I'm like, boy, you better sing that song. You remember how Prince stopped singing songs? I was like, I'm freaky. And I'm like, boy, God, you better, like, that was so funky.
Man, brother, my pleasure. This brother just said thank you to me. Thank you, brother. I learned how to program a drum machine, I think, from trying to emulate some of them songs you did earlier.
Yeah, the Lynn and yeah. Man.
Yes, sir. So, Karyn, the movie. Hey, you wrote a bunch of songs for the movie, too, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to me about that. I mean, didn't you write some songs and stuff?
Yeah. I co-wrote with my niece and DOA and my partner, Derek, some soul. You got it. This is the fun part about this character is that I could show that other side. You know how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce? Right. I was Sasha before her. So I get to be funky, and this soundtrack is really, we go into, like I said, Parliament type of thing, Curtis Mayfield, Tina Marie, Rick James, like this music is reminiscent of that whole era of these legends, and I get to be funky, y'all, which is really what I love to do. So this character, like I said, she was based on my girl Shaka Khan, who is, just the queen of funk. So I had an amazing time showing that side of my personality. And at the end, you guys got to see it. I even come out with my James Brown. I had him carrying my damn, I had this jean coat with window panes on it. and I had my pimp hat. I was coming through the audience, and they was, go gal, go gal.
Too funny.
Oh, it's funny. Look, this was the Independent. This is an independent film, Jeff. Right. We did it with two Morehouse students out here in Atlanta.
Nice.
And that's the beauty about where we are right now, right? With the internet and having, not having to spend all this, hundreds of thousands to produce a movie. Right. I was like, I've done that. I know it can be done. People are doing stuff with their iPhone. Right. So, it's just being creative. And so
it's about being creative. It's about the medium now. It's it's about what is it that you filmed? Let me see. It either passes the bar or it doesn't, right? It either sinks or it swims. It really doesn't matter whether it's shot in, 220 frames a second on Sony film. Those days are over. Get it in the can.
Those days are over. And we did it on the highest level you can do it. Yeah. Me spending $300,000 on videos and all that stuff sounds so crazy now. And I love it now, Jeff, because it's like, okay, it's really who's the most creative. I love the fact that it's like, no, I'm not going to spend that money on a video. We got to be creative. Let's figure this thing out. We should be able to spend $2,000 on a video. You know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. It's business. How are you going to we're not selling these type of records now. So these budgets, you'd be crazy to try to do that now. But
you never
it's
get that
about
money back. Yeah, you never get that.
yeah, it's about the creativity, which kind of puts us all on the same playing field. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be creative. Like,
Hello. That's one of the things I love the most is that the playing field has been completely level. So now it becomes how creative are you?
Right.
I like
and
that.
then, do you have my Carpe Diem album with me with the red dress? Do you have that?
Do I have it? Yeah,
Yeah,
of course
do you
I
have
have
that
it. What do you? Of course I have it. You mean
Well, I
this
want
one?
you to put this up because I'm going to tell you something. So, okay, so I did the art direction on that. Got the dress from J.C. Penney. You would never know. Look, had it, tailored, and then went to a place in San Diego who was like a bourgeois place, and I love their lighting, and so this album cover looks amazing. You would never know that, we didn't spend all those thousands of dollars. So as independent artists, we just got to be creative.
That looks as good as anything Warner Brothers did.
Look, that looks as
1990.
good as me spending my back in the day. Look, spending on my Chanel. You already know that, right?
Right. So we talked about everything, man, from the music to the sessions to how I met you, the way you blessed me just by seeing me as the underdog and giving me an opportunity that has changed my life and kept me working, And then the exposure I had to you in the studio and Terry. What people don't understand about Terry Lewis is that Terry Lewis is one of the hardest working men on the planet. And I remember once after like a 14-hour session, I said, Terry, man, I got to go home. I'm about to die. And Terry looked at me and said, bruh, go ahead, man. You're going to live a long time. You're going to live a long time. And I went away scratching my head. What does he mean by that? And I remember getting in my car and I came back in the building and I said, no, I'm here. Let's do this. Let's do this. Because, that was Terry. But, what a blessing it is to know both you and Terry and to be friends with you and having my name on your record album and, and just be a part of your process, like Karyn White. Like, come on, for real. I love you so much, man. I really do. I love you.
Thank you for those memories, and I love you too. And I'm just so glad that I was a part of your journey. I had no clue that me and my little bold self, Harry.
So listen, all those times in the studio where we're working, I was just basically minding my business because I didn't want to be out of pocket at any point in time. So I never talked about that kind of stuff. I just did the work. But yeah, my memory is like, yeah, I was in front of that stage in the Palladium. You were singing to me. The band was telling me, get in your car and drive to Minnesota, boy. You feel me? And I did. And then I bumped into you in that mall. I bumped into you in that mall. And I stalked you through those clothes racks. And that's how I do.
Wow, boy, you have touched my spirit right now. I'm so happy. I was a part of that. Wow.
Yeah, man. Amazing.
That's what's up.
All of you people touched me in a great and profound way. But you're very special, Karyn White. And I've been waiting a long time to tell you this, man. I've been waiting a long time to tell you.
Man, Jeff, you waited too long, Jeff.
I've been trying to. I finally got in touch with my feelings. Just like you finally figured out your power, I finally realized my power too. And my power is bringing it to the people. And I'm willing to reach out to all the people. And if I've asked you to be on my show and you said no or didn't answer my email, I'm not mad because I still want to talk to you on my show. And now that I've had Karyn White, the bar has definitely gone from here to there. And if you can hear her, we're even glowing a little.
Oh, we are really glowing. And you know what? Speaking of, guess who I saw yesterday?
Who?
She's the queen of the second queen to Aretha Franklin, Ann Nesby. I saw her at the restaurant yesterday. You gotta have it. Have you had Ann on?
I haven't had Ann on because Tim is a problem. No, I'm just playing. That's my dog. I haven't reached out to them yet. I'm about to because I'm gonna reach out to Tim here as soon as I can and try to get Ann on the show.
I'll talk to Tim. We'll talk to Tim.
Oh! I'm so glad you mentioned that. Talk to Tim. But Gary Hines was on my show on Saturday. And Gary said, Jeff, brother, man, whatever you do, stop what you're doing in the middle of what you're doing and take a moment and tell Karyn that I said I love her. You know how Gary is. So from Gary Hines, he's like, Gary
Sounds
worships
of Blackness. A lot of people, we were such a big family in Minnesota. And so, you guys know Sounds of Blackness. We're talking about Ann Nesby, the incredible Ann Nesby.
Incredible.
Just man, that's so beautiful, man.
Something?
Because Gary and I wrote a lot of music together on the. A lot of people don't think that I worked a lot with Jimmy and Terry, but I really worked a lot with, you and Gary Hines and Jelly Bean. You know what I mean? There were
you were always you were looking for different creative pockets all the
underdogs.
time. Yeah, you were always doing. You were like, no, I can do this. I can do that. Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing quality, and one that I know I appreciate because I certainly was the underdog. But I ain't no more.
Yep.
I'm the big dog now. Karyn, people still in our chat saying, hello, how you doing? How you doing? What's going on? Look at this. I got more comments. What a show. You turned it out for me. You brought it.
Donna Lee, what's up, baby?
You brought it. Everybody's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Karyn White. Can I get a big applause for Karyn? That's the queen. That's the queen right there. Give me some more. Give me some more. Karyn, thank you so much for coming on this show. Thank you so much for coming on this show.
Thank you. Man, you made my day. I was a little nervous, Jeff.
Oh, listen, I haven't slept in 2 days just trying to make sure that everything worked properly. Because I already know Karyn White. When I told Derek earlier I know Karyn, I meant in the sense that she expects perfection. I'm going to try to give it to her. I hope I served you well. Thanks, my dear.
Thank you for reminding me of that right now.
Let's get it.
In this indie grind, right?
Let's go. You got my numbers. You got my contact info. Derek has it. So if I can help you out in any way, I would saddle up. There ain't too many people I'm going to saddle up for. But I will saddle up for Karyn White in a heartbeat. Because that's family. Love you, Karyn.
I love you guys.
Bye.
Everybody, love you.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, Karyn White. I feel so blessed right now because Karyn is amazing. Listen, my next show coming up on Saturday, I've got UB40 singer, Red Wine, don't make me sing, Matt Hoy, songwriter, producer. He's gonna be on the show all the way from across the pond over in London, England. He's coming on the show, mate. We're gonna chop it up a little bit about what he's got going on. He's got a new record out right now, and he's used several members of the Minneapolis crowd that we spoke about, and so forth and so on. And guess what? If you're watching my show, you have entered this contest. You could potentially win these headphones that I'm rocking. I'll be rocking these Olo headphones. They're partners of mine, and they sponsor me. And if you can win these, if you want to. Anyway, thank you so much to my guests for being on my show. I don't even know what to say other than she's a very special lady and somebody whose music I love. If you don't have her records, get on Spotify, get on YouTube, get on Google. Young people, you aspire to be a singer, yet you say you don't know who Karyn White is? How could that be? How could that be? Get on it. Get on it. Thank you so much, folks. Anyway, I've had a ball. You've heard me talk. And now, I'm going to take it on home. And that's fire right there. Don't burn yourself on my show. Scooch up against the wall and slide on out sideways. There you go. All right. Until we meet again. It's Madjef.